We've switched up our analysts here, just like you change from attack to defense. Are you guys the attack analysts or the defense analysts?
We would be attack.
I think we'd be the attack.
Yeah, we would.
Okay, so Caliber, Jacob, and Jesse are the defense analysts?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Great. Well, now that we've settled that, important questions here at the Six Major desk. We're going to be talking about some potential spoilers that have occurred on the Bravo stream. I don't know personally why you care about spoilers. You know, the game's already been played, and if you're going to go back and watch it, and it's so important to you not to know the results, then I think you just lack an appreciation of the beauty of the gameplay, because that should be enjoyment enough in my mind. So maybe change your mentality so I don't have to do this for the rest of the tournament. All right, with that said, it was Team Liquid 7-3 over IG on Coastline. So Team Liquid now still at the top of the standings in their group. So expected, I would say, given the state of TSM at this tournament.
Yeah, and I mean, look, when we were speaking about groups of death and stuff like that, like I just expected Liquid, no matter what, no matter how you sort of divvied the groups up, I expected them to get out quite easy. And it just seems to be going, straight to plan.
Being the runner-ups at SI, I mean, it's more than expected. Just like, we expect NIP to dominate, but it's not happening, but Liquid is.
We got a 50-50, though. Like, we got half there.
Only 2 games for NIP. Let's hold.
Let's
hold. They played fewer games than everyone else so far. We do have standings for the group you are about to watch, though, which is Group C. And this one is certainly interesting. You would not have expected to see at this point in time. Ninjas in Pajamas, the reigning champions there. Again, they have played one fewer map than most of these teams, except for, of course, Damwon Kia, who they will be playing twice today, but still Damwon Kia 1 point ahead so far. G2 bouncing back today with a regulation win against NIP. Certainly the surprise. DarkZero surprising on their own. If you missed it earlier on, again, spoilers. I mean, these spoilers galore, which is DarkZero did win 7-4 on Villa over Damwon Gaming. So this will be DarkZero's second match of the day. Same thing with G2. Both teams coming off of wins, although arguably G2 is more surprising.
Yeah, absolutely. And the big thing for G2 as well is after the harsh day yesterday, you either come in renewed or you come in with the same sort of dark cloud hovering over you. And I know that's a nice little DarkZero pun intended, but that's what I'm thinking for today.
Oh yeah, G2 came in with a complete opposite mindset. They were applying the pressure this game. They were all on point. They were abusing Hungary like they should have been doing throughout the other games with the Capitao. The executes, the coordination, it was all there today.
Well, G2 has had one good game and then some truly atrocious ones as well.
Oh, yeah.
Say it like it is, Monty, please.
That's true. I mean, they had a very good game today. We're not taking that away from them, but they were pretty awful yesterday. But it is nice to see them revive today. First up, though, we have to talk about DarkZero because they've been very consistent overall. They nearly beat NIP themselves, taking it into overtime. That could have easily been a win for them. And, they took care of G2 and I presume Damwon Kia, considering that the score line quite easily.
The biggest thing about DarkZero that I had criticized about them for a while is their entry game. They've always struggled in having a solid entry. Like I said, it'll run through the doorway. And this event, it's really showing that picking up Pambazoo was the right choice. The whole team overall is a positive 12 on entry. NJR is shining on his current roles right now. Their map pool is looking good. They've gone to a variety of maps, and they're looking great.
Well, speaking of maps, it's veto time.
Let's get it. All right, I'm ready for this.
Let's go. Straight to the vetoes.
Excited to see this one.
Coastline's got to go out real quick here for G2. So if it's not first ban, it's probably second. Cafe going out.
Taking that out because of NIP, for sure.
Yes.
Chalet? Oh, okay.
They don't want to go back to the pound that they received the first time.
You know what? One time's enough. Don't want Lightning striking twice. Okay, why is Coastline still on the board?
No way DZ lets Coastline go through. Yeah.
Okay. Someone had to get rid of it. If this goes to Consulate, that's spicy as heck. Villa is a good map for G2 as well, but they want to get rid of it.
Consulate.
Okay. This is nasty, probably because it's a good map for both teams.
Oh, yeah.
It's about to be a throwdown.
Okay, so what suits Consulate for DarkZero? Why do they like this map?
I'd say the biggest thing for Consulate specifically is they're very good at trapping players. So, if G2 roams, they're going to have to expect a lot of pinching from DarkZero, and then there's a lot of cutoffs on that map, especially a lot of windows that they can be abused. And DarkZero historically has always favored this map.
Yeah, it's one of their top played maps. Mind you, there's a few maps that they've been running around in recently. Trouble is that's mixed in with their GSA results, so it does get a little bit iffy. So when we're talking about the data samples, do take it with a pinch of salt because GSA was not a serious set of games for them in any way, shape, or form. So good there, but we need more.
Okay, so what have you guys liked about DarkZero? Let's dive into them a little bit more. We can talk about the previous matchup these teams had, which was ridiculously one-sided. I mean, we saw NJR be completely dominant on Chalet on their attacking rounds, picking up the Nook, going like 5 rounds without even dying, picking up 19 kills himself. NJR has been the standout player of DarkZero.
I think the biggest change for them that is kind of, not talked about enough is they're still playing a structured siege, but they're doing it a little bit more loosely. They're allowing players to make more initiative plays and just, playing off intuition rather than playing by a script completely. And I think a big part of that is moving Mint to the coaching position. I know him and BC have similar visions of how siege should be played, but I know that Mint specifically has always been more so playing off initiative, playing off what you think you should be doing rather than what you're told to be doing.
Well, what they said, too, about that swap when I asked was that by having BC in the game, they were having problems implementing BC's tactics from him being a coach, whereas when he moved into the game, they were like, oh, it clicked much better because he was just in-game guiding us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're a coach, you're standing behind. That's probably the worst part about being support staff is that once you're in the game, especially at an event, you're standing there and you're just watching it unfold in front of you. You get one tactical timeout, you cannot direct, you cannot IGL, and of course in an official match you can't either.
That's the positive too of having BC now in a player position is he's watching these players for so long that he knows their strengths and he knows how to trust their opinion in the game.
Absolutely, and that's just going to flow on to the fact that now he's sitting in there playing and now he's directing live. It's like having, the director straight in front of you. As we stand in the cameras here right now and we have someone in our ears, they get that live in front of them in the game. That can only be a positive.
Fair enough. And have there been, besides NJR, any players that you would like to call out that may have been a little bit
Yo, call out your man Hyper. Call him out.
I'm going to call out Hyper. I mean, I think
go
that
the other way.
His game...
Call him out.
Well, it's complicated. I do expect
complicated relationship? Go ahead.
Tell me more.
I do expect a little bit of a higher performance from Hyper overall. I think he's been a little underwhelming this event specifically, but in his past, he's always been the top performer. But I do want to give some props to Eclipse specifically. In his game against Dom Kia, he played lights out. He got an ace to finish out the game, and he's been doing extremely well playing this role again. He's changed multiple roles with all the roster changes that he's been going through. So now the fact that he's now playing like the sledge role and doing top down and doing a little bit of roaming on the side too, he's doing great.
Funny you say that, because in NAL he had like the lowest survival rating, like 24% or something atrocious like that. So it's good that there are players that are redeeming themselves. I know G2's had a little bit of redemption arc. Players on the side of DZ are having a redemption arc. As a huge anime fan myself, I'm all about that life.
Esports is not an anime.
I wish it were.
I'm
not gonna lie to you.
But I have to say, speaking of redemption arcs, like G2, G2 is kind of anime right now.
Let's be honest.
I literally said the most ridiculous thing, which is, like, oh, yeah, it's fine, G2. They just slept it off, reset their mental. NIP isn't doing that well, so that's how G2 is going to win. And that came true for some reason because I'm writing the script of this tournament, apparently.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it badly. It's not believable at all, frankly.
You know what? They let you write the script for today, and I respect the organizers for doing that, because that could have just been a wild output, but you've done the right thing, and actually you're probably a lot more right than you realize, because I have no doubt that the support staff behind G2 right now, in specific Shaz, sat down with the boys and said, look at what you did in EUL. What you did yesterday was not reminiscent of what you dominated and the way and the play style that you were able to sort of provide inside EUL.
Yeah, him in the background, you can hear him when they're playing, is he's always saying, like, let's go, boys, and then the timeouts, and he's always trying to mentally reset everybody and move on to the next round. The previous rounds, even if they're down bad, it doesn't matter. They move forward and they focus on what's going on.
No one's down bad here on the desk, though. I'll tell you that much.
I don't know what that means. I'm too old.
Monty's like, I don't understand.
Twitter,
you and I
Twitter will have fun with that one. We got some people that are always down bad, so.
I don't know. I mean, I can sort of infer what it means, but I don't know specifically. So there you go. I don't even have TikTok installed on my phone. So
you're missing out.
Yeah, you are.
I am not. I have other things to do with my time.
Yeah. Man's busy.
So anyway, this was a really good turnaround for G2. Question is this going to have any kind of staying power, right? Because that win, especially against NIP, makes them very competitive. They pick up a win against DarkZero here. All of a sudden, it'll probably look like DarkZero and G2 have the best shot at getting out of this group, which would be shocking.
That would be quite shocking. It would be 50% shocking to me because I think I might have predicted G2 and NIP getting out.
I think you did.
Yeah, so
You
if
did.
one of the teams gets out, I'm like, pretty in a good position. I would be upset for Damwon Kia, obviously, considering some of the results that they've put up. But more specifically, looking at the boys on your screen right now, you can look at them a little bit bored because, I mean, you've got another German standing behind you trying to teach you something, I'm sure. So that's probably the most boring kind of lesson you can ever have. But nevertheless, no, I've lived in Germany. Shout out to all my German friends out there, but I do think that
They didn't think that was funny because they don't have a sense of humor. So
I'm glad. Look, I'm glad you're saying the things I'm thinking, and I'm not blurting out. I've got the filter.
Yeah. I know a lot of German. Spent a lot of time in Germany myself, so that's just how it is. It's fine. You're good at other things like
well, we'll get back
bureaucracy.
to that. Yeah, I mean, we can brainstorm some things they're good at, I'm sure. But no, I did want to sort of highlight the fact that they do look refreshed. And it's one of those mentality things when you're talking about a coach and the way that they're able to change mentality. I know it seems like I'm shilling Shaz. I would do the same with Lycan. They are the precipice of the best support staff in the world.
I agree.
They are there for a reason.
The thing, another thing to add on, like looking to refresh, they're also going an interesting route in terms of map bans. So they're playing Consulate today against DarkZero, which is obviously their most played map in the last 2 stages, probably. And then against NIP, they go to Cafe, who was undefeated, I think 13-0 or 14-0. And then against Damwon Kia, they go to Clubhouse, which was their most played map as well. So them allowing these maps to go through, I think they're kind of going with some counter strats.
G2's not doing the saving strats. They're doing the counter strats now. G2 is known for saving strats. And then the new G2 is like, no. This is our new identity.
Were you pleased with at least some of the operators that were coming out of G2 in that last game? Because it felt like they had found their groove and were playing more to the style that we wanted to see.
Oh, yeah. Me and Jessa talked about it multiple times already up on the desk that they're not abusing Hungary enough. And they had him on the Capitao throughout the whole game on NIP, and their executes and coordination were so much better compared to the last 2 games.
Yeah. And that's what you want. I mean, I don't want them to abuse him to the point where he kind of feels he doesn't have a point in the strategy, which would be obviously awful.
Right.
But him on the Capitao, especially on Clubhouse, is where the man fits in. Get him on the Monty if it's not banned. Get him on the Capitao. Get him in areas where he's going to do damage. If Mira's not banned, get him on the Mira, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the things we want to see Hungary doing. A little bit of breathing room whilst we're 2,500 meters in the air might be nice for Hungary.
So this was probably going to be a pretty boring prediction if we had made it earlier today, but now it's pretty interesting. So I want to know where you guys are landing and why.
I pick?
I believe you picked G2. Oh, no, I think you actually picked DarkZero.
I think I did.
Well, so I think you should be allowed to change your predictions as you see the games throughout the day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just not playing with complete information.
Can I get a confirmation? Can I change?
I'll say I'm still going to go DarkZero here. I'm very confident in the game plan that Mint's providing to the team. I'm confident they came into this match probably expecting Consulate. So I'm going DarkZero again here.
I just think DarkZero will have the slight edge over G2 because, yes, you can have a really positive game and, yes, the momentum can be behind you. But after what NJR has been doing, Pamba has been doing excellent on the entry, which I didn't expect. I just see more positives in DarkZero than I do G2 just yet.
Well, I'm sure if NIP is watching that they'll be really hoping for that DarkZero win because that'll make it a lot easier for them to get out even if it is in second place overall, where, with all the 3 teams being pretty close towards the bottom of the rankings in terms of points.
It'll be good. It'll be good. I like a close rally. You almost always have, who's going to be the first place, but it's always just such a scratch fight. Like, you want to throw them into the octagon and be like, all right, whoever lives, you just go through because that's how close the points end up getting. And now that we have OT, I think it just means it's just going to be a difference of minor points.
This group, I think, was the biggest shock for probably a lot of people.
Yes.
Everybody was expecting NIP to come in and just handle business, and they obviously haven't been doing that, and they expected G2 as well to do that. I think there was only me and one other person on the cast, I think it was Jesse, that predicted DarkZero to get out of the group stage.
Wow.
And, I mean, look at them now. They're on the number 1 spot.
Yep, and they have a chance to really almost, I think, certainly secure a playoff spot with a win here. So very exciting for DarkZero fans for sure. We are about ready to get into the match. And so that means our casters will be taking it over. I'm really looking forward to hearing what they have to say about the match, but I have important questions for them to answer first, which is this. Intero, if Kickstar was an animal, which animal would he be? And Kickstar, if Intero was an animal, which animal would he be?
Are we just going to answer it like that?
Tiger. He'd be a tiger.
I would be a tiger. Maybe more like a lion?
No, you'd
I
be
don't get to make that decision.
I was gonna say lion, but the red hair says tiger for me.
I see you as a kangaroo.
A kangaroo.
Yeah, you're wiry and you're springy, and I feel like you're.
I'm a
slim.
kangaroo. All
You're
right.
a kangaroo. You're just dancing around.
No, I'll take that. That's pretty cool.
Fighting jabs,
I'd say tiger. Parker's a tiger.
I would love to be a tiger. Tigers are indisputably the best animals, so.
Oh wow, really?
I'm just gonna throw that out there.
I didn't even know he thought that. I just total guess.
The real question is, when we go back to the desk, what would Monty, Jess, and Skies be? I'd actually love to know.
Do we have to answer that question now?
Unless they already talked about it on a desk segment earlier.
I imagine that is something that they would talk about. It is valuable analysis.
Very valuable analysis.
Now,
Just as these two teams did some valuable analysis of the previous matchup, in which was, frankly, an embarrassment for G2 at the time. But Michael, G2 played pretty well earlier today. So did DZ.
Yes.
So, what do
mean,
we expect out of this match?
Yeah, so that's the thing. They're both rallying these two teams, Parker. They're on the uptake for this group stage. G2 managed to beat Ninjas in Pajamas 7-4. DZ managed to beat Damwon Kia 7-4 as well. So big wins there for both rosters, and they are now contending for, well, I mean, long-term, potentially that first place, right? Obviously, currently, G2 finds themselves in a worse position, given that DZ's had a better record overall. But I gotta say, I am really impressed with G2 managing to recover and win against NIP.
This song kind of sounds like the theme song to the original Pacific Rim movie.
It's too low for me.
Well, I mean, that little like refrain sounded like.
Yeah, no, I hear it.
Sounded like the original Pacific Rim.
I had to turn
theme
it
song.
on.
You know who wrote that? Tom Morello, guitarist for Rage Against the Machine and Audio Slave. Put some great licks down for that one, but there was some nice synth in the background, and this one kind of sounded. I was just nerding out.
You sound incredibly cultured.
No, I just have nothing else to do with my life.
It's a good movie, though. I mean, it's fun. It's just fun.
Earlier today, by the way, spoilers for everybody who didn't watch the match that just preceded this one, so plug your ears. Space Station defeated Na'Vi, and because of that, it means that Na'Vi is donezo.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Na'Vi. Furia and Space Station move on. They were in the group with the Knights. The Knights were unable to make it, and as such, with the only single remaining game that Na'Vi has left to play, it is statistically impossible, even if they win, for them to be able to get back, because the head-to-head tiebreaker would be a tie between the two teams because they play Furia twice, but the next tiebreaker down in line is maps 1, and Furia has already won 2 maps. Na'Vi has not. Na'Vi winning the map tomorrow would put them at 1 map to Furia's 2, and Furia would prevail. So congratulations. A North American team and a Brazilian team have made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, they did it. I mean, we've got some. That's the first little bit of guarantee that we have here, and yeah, I feel for Na'Vi. I think that their run through this tournament was not quite what they were expecting. I mean, nobody expects to lose, obviously. Well, actually, that's technically not true. Nobody wants to lose. But I think Na'Vi thought they had a much better chance at winning than they did. I think the Furia, some would say the Furia upset. I mean, it wasn't 8-7. That match against Na'Vi.
Both of Furia's wins came in overtime.
Yeah, and against Na'Vi.
The DarkZero special.
It's too bad they're not in the same group. No, but that win against Na'Vi was a bit of an upset, and I think it caught Na'Vi off guard. And they weren't even sure if they had been eliminated after they lost that match earlier against SSG.
See, this is the part that sounds like Pacific Rim.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing it. It's the
It's like the backing synth. It's not
yeah,
like
the
main.
synth. Yeah.
Anyway, teams are huddling right now before we get into the action. I'm waiting on the players to get into the lobby before we can get underway on this rematch of these teams, which was a 7-2 scoreline in favor of DarkZero and Chalet. DZ presently leads the group, and they have a decently commanding lead. A victory here for G2 would not get them to catch up to DZ. DZ with a win here would... I don't know if it would be official, but a victory here would all but guarantee like a 95% likelihood that DZ would move on.
Well, they have 2 wins right now, which makes them the only team in their group, I think, that has 2 wins, unless I'm mistaken. So they're currently in the lead. They're doing really well. Would have to check the math on that one, and you know the rules about doing math on broadcast, Parker.
Yeah, you don't do them. This is the Group C that contains DarkZero Esports, G2 Esports, Ninjas in Pajamas, and Damwon Kia. Now, a couple things to note about this group. Last night, Damwon had an incredible upset over G2 and now sits second in the group as of this present moment.
Yes. I mean,
DWG Kia plays NIP later. Now, I would need to sink into the proper mathematics for this. But if G2 wins this match and Damwon Kia defeats NIP later on today, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe that makes it almost impossible for NIP to make it out of the group stages.
do you think that NIP will take an L against Damwon Kia?
I don't have any idea, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a very surprising event so far.
Yeah, there's been turmoil with the results. And
Yeah.
you know what? It's been nice, though. That kind of uncertainty makes for captivating Rainbow Six. It makes for a captivating sporting
Yeah.
event, whether it's online or not.
I mean, we were all counting G2 out earlier after yesterday. They lost 2 matches.
Yeah, then they crushed NIP earlier today.
Yeah, exactly. And so this twisting and turning, I mean, we're just focusing in on Group C. There's been a lot going on on other groups. But this twisting and turning through the event has been really quite fun to watch and to follow along with. And, you know, this was going to be one of the, I guess you could say, the final twists for the day for these teams. So looking to see how they play.
It'll be fascinating for sure. We're just waiting on the last of the players to get in the lobby, and then we'll get things rolling here.
They look very ready.
How do you gauge that?
How do I discern how ready a player is by looking at them?
That's exactly what I was about to ask.
Their focus on their monitors and their hands on their keyboards and mouse.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that they have that gamer face. You know, gamer face where you kind of just, your jaw relaxes and your eyes go really wide and you're like laser focused on your monitor.
Yes.
That plus all the other factors. I'd call that ready. I don't know. You asked me a question, I'm going to answer it seriously. You know how I do this.
We're just trying to fill the gym. By the way, not that we want you to leave.
We don't.
But there is another stream that is currently ongoing with Jackie, Dezichu, and Ace of Pyrite. It's the Rainbow Six Bravo stream, twitch.tv/Rainbow Six Bravo. Team BDS is presently playing Team 1. And if BDS prevails here, they will be up 4-0. That will be 12 points for them on the board, and I think that would lock them in for playoffs as well. So we're starting to see a couple of the dominoes fall on the group stages as they draw to a conclusion over the next 24 to 30 hours or so. Well, the playoff bracket's filling up.
Yep. So I don't know exactly what the dealio is, but what I can say is it looks like DarkZero is in the same boat as all the rest of us, as they look.
Are they less ready because their hands aren't on their keyboards?
No, I actually think they're more ready because they're clearly in a position where they've gotten to the precipice of the match and they're ready to go, and they're not able to go, and so they're just sitting here like, oh. So I assume whatever's happening here is happening on the G2 side.
It looks like they're waiting.
Yeah, looks like they're waiting for something.
Just as we are.
Yeah, just as. Yeah.
That's
It's
how it
probably. I don't know. Don't know. Couldn't say.
By the way, the Team BDS Team 1 game just began.
Really?
So, yeah, it just started. So
Well,
they just finished round 1.
There's been some weird scheduling with the A and the B stream.
But you know
today.
what? I got to give a huge amount of credit to that entire B stream team. Jackie, Dez, and Ace are working long days. The production team is additionally working long days to ensure that everything is going according to plan. And I got to say, as much as everybody loves casting Rainbow Six, that just as the players would get fatigued playing for 12 hours, the casters will also get fatigued playing for 12, or casting rather, for 12 hours, though
I would get tired playing.
I'd get tired
12
playing
hours
for
is a
12
lot.
hours.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do that.
We'd all be.
We'd all be very tired.
Yeah, I have
But
done
casting
that.
for 12 hours straight, there's a certain level of stamina required right there. And if there's 3 gentlemen on this planet, in this scene, that I would give a tip of the hat, a gentle nod towards, it's Dez, Ace, and Jackie, who I think have done a great job. And their Only Pans thing that they did earlier, also very funny.
Yes, very funny.
That was very
I love
funny.
the Only Pans jokes. And I'm sure their stamina is just excellent, Parker.
Just perfect.
Yes, thanks for bringing that up.
You're very welcome.
So we've got everybody filing into the lobby now. You can't see it, but we can, and I'm going to relay that to you.
Please do.
All 10 players in the lobby.
Say less.
Both spectators, Parker.
No way.
It's happening.
All 10.
Quite possibly.
No way.
Yeah. We could
Ridiculous.
actually very well begin this match.
It's ridiculous.
You say it's ridiculous. I say it's about darn time. Eclipse looks happy. I love it when Eclipse looks happy.
Tyler? big smiles on his face.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's gone. Uh-oh. It's disappeared.
Oh, no.
Oh.
One more smile.
Darn it.
Oh, no. It's...
Well, it was nice while it lasted. Like the sunrise. You know,
Mentally, he just entered the danger zone.
Oh, he's got that gamer focus.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Consulate, ready to go ahead and load into. We're primed.
We're finally ready!
Woo! Gotta get a clap in the chat for Consulate loading
Is
up.
the clap emote available? Why don't you just do it?
I mean, you can do it without the emote.
Just do it.
We all know what we're doing.
You can clap.
Yeah. You can clap if you want to.
You can clamp if you want as well. I don't know exactly
I
what
don't
that
know what that
entails, but you are
means.
free to do it if you'd like. We are primed and ready, and on your screen you see the operator ban phase.
Here we go.
G2 starts on defense here on Consulate. They're going to get rid of Zero. This is an operator that has been trotted out by DarkZero many times before. Tends to go into the hands of Eclipse. This will likely push Eclipse onto Nomad for most of the matchup.
Assuming Nomad's not banned here, and it's not, DarkZero will get rid of Thatcher. I like this. This is standard stuff. The Nomad being available, yeah, probably going to be very often played on Consulate. This is one of her best maps. Let's get into the Defender bans. Valkyrie, also, this is one of her best maps as well. You add that to, let's say Cafe and Consulate. Those are probably your top two in competitive rotation. Final Defender ban. I don't know if we'll see Amira. She's not always that useful here, and we won't. It's going to be a Wamai ban. I think that makes a lot more sense. Sometimes we see Jaeger bans on Consulate. We have seen that earlier today, in fact. Sometimes we see Wamai bans, and the reason is just because of how you can use nades on this map to get pick after pick after pick. And if it's just Jaeger or just Wamai, it's much easier to do that.
Absolutely correct. Also, I couldn't help but notice that when you talked about the Zero ban and then you immediately followed it up by saying DarkZero, that there's some kind of maybe branding opportunities in there for DZ.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if they ever do, you know...
Evil Zero, the operator, DarkZero.
What if they did, like, esports elite skins, Parker?
Isn't that what the R6 share program is? Am I crazy?
I mean, elite skins. So, like, you could have the literal DarkZero. I mean, if it ever happened...
You lost me.
No, really?
You completely lost me.
Oh, okay. Well, I think it'd be cool.
Eclipse is on Sledge, by the way. The hands of Nomad is going to be NJR, so NJR has been one of the best performing players at this entire event, so
Yep.
kudos to him, and obviously you're going to put him on that flank watch role, and that was the craziest part that didn't get discussed enough, I think, in the previous matchup with DZ, was that NJR is getting all of these kills, but he's not your main point of entry. You've got players like Hyper and Pambazoo who are going to be the ones leading the charge into the building, but it's NJR on cleanup and doing a mighty fine job of it. Call him the janitor because he's taking out the trash.
Yeah, sometimes that second entry or that support or flex role, in this case NJR is put on flank watch, can be one of your top performers if you are putting him in the position to do his job well, and he does not mess up. And I gotta tell you, NJR does not mess up. Well, he's not very often. Everybody does.
I'm curious to see what Hyper's Amaru is going to do, by the way. This will be fun to
love this
watch.
skin.
She's a... She's an incredibly linear operator. You basically have one usage from her, and that's get in, possibly kill, and then maybe get out.
Yeah, usually you're not getting out. It'll be a trade, but it depends. We'll see. Now, what we see here is the upside down repel from Hyper on CEO Windows.
Does he know he can just repel into the building?
He probably doesn't want to die
diving.
like Hyper just did, actually. Well, look at that.
Yeah, he doesn't want to die like he did.
Yeah, he doesn't want to die like he did, Parker.
Well, the Amaru experiment comes to a screeching halt 45 seconds into the round. Junka gets the very first kill.
Good start there for G2. You like to see that on defensive Consulate, getting those early picks. It means you've got confidence.
Drones up and running.
I mean, the way G2 played earlier is any indication, then I think confidence is something that they'll hang on to. Humbling the reigning defending world champions, who themselves are not in the best spot in this group, but there's still plenty of time to play through. It really does depend on what DWG Kia does later today.
Yeah.
For the meantime, this downstairs defense from G2 has them spread out across the first floor and then the basement as well. Pambazoo with the signal coming in on the drone from bathroom. Well, I was going to say I would know that somebody was there, but I think the gun bullets and gunfire and things like that will probably give it away.
Yeah, and no pick for either team off of this
Oh, no.
really close proximity by Z. And oh, the angle from Citizen does a little bit of damage, but Eclipse is the one to die to Hungry at top banana. It's a good pick there for G2, and look at this hole made by the Ash. Pamazoo's trying to utilize it, but the gas canisters are stopping him. In a second for Hungry, still top banana, he'll descend. DZ are falling by the wayside in this first round.
Same spot, NJR looking for one for his own team. He sees the feet, nice shot from him right as the ADS says. There's a lot more work to be done for DarkZero as they're just simply outclassed.
They are being,
outmanned,
right now,
outgunned at the moment. 4v2 for G2.
Yeah, there's not a lot that DZ's going to be able to do here in all likelihood, and especially as you see Citizen starting to batten up all the hatches, and these last 4 defenders bringing it right back to the site, not going to give any opportunities to NJR, who they know to be a potent force. Just take the round win.
They're still certain that there's somebody on that upstairs floor, but there's nobody up there. He and BC in tandem with one another, trying to hunt down a shadow on the top floor. Instead, they'll go down the spiral stairs, and Hungry will be there waiting, looking for kills 3 and 4, and he'll get them both. A 4K from Hungry to give G2 the very first round, and that's the start that the Europeans need if they want to keep this one close and potentially prevail against DarkZero.
Hungry, one of the most vetted players in this entire lobby right now, and he's had some ups and downs in his career, some time off, some time on as well. But he's here, screaming loud in the first round, 4K. That does speak a lot to the depth on G2, as the typical fraggers and Citizen didn't really need to do a whole lot in that round. Now, G2 getting the lead off is not the end for DZ, obviously. They did get some unlucky positioning there, some bad starts, and it is possible we'll see them batten up all the hatches. I already used that one. Let's say...
Yeah, but you said batten up the hatches, and I wanted to correct you then. I'm going to correct you now. It's batten down the hatches.
Really?
Yeah. You've gotten
Technically, you could do it either way, though, right? Because if it's literally a hatch, then, I mean, it could be done from either direction.
Yeah, but you're battening them down.
I mean, the batten is the main implication, right?
It.
No, but it could be done either. Well, I mean, okay. I can see the point that I
there
smashed.
are experts in Twitch chat.
I smashed the idiom.
You did.
I smashed the idiom. I could see that point.
Turn up for what?
Turn up for everything, Parker.
First round goes in favor of G2, and I like the bait and switch that happened, by the way. Citizen playing over by Veto was designed to attract the attention of anybody from DarkZero that was playing by Yellow Stairs. That includes the connector that leads to Piano that we refer to as Zulu, or Zed. And then Hungry just sat at the top of Spiral Stairs, and he remained undroned for the entirety of
Banana.
Spiral Stairs.
No, Spiral, because Spiral's the top part of the spiral staircase, you know? And if they're both spiral stairs, then which one's the spiraliest of the stairs? So the bottom one's banana.
But they're still stairs.
Yeah, it's just you know, it's just a convenient call out. By the way, in the reveal, did you hear that Jeremy used the word banana on bank? That was really cool. Anyway, focusing in on this game.
I swear to God.
G2 have yet to get the early pick like they did last time, but they are fishing for it. DZ very cautious, going for an admin office take. And they're going to go for the repel in here. Hyper, first in, tip of the spear. He's got the scan on the feet. Jekyll being available on Consulate is really big. It's going to help them a lot.
And it's Citizen who'll be chased down on that bottom floor and try to evade the eyes of whoever from DarkZero ends up in that particular area. And Hyper's actually allowed in the building this time. You can't have Hyper being the very first to die time and time again. Yes, NJR has been the name on the tip of our tongues for the last 24 hours. But Hyper has been one of the most consistent players in his region for years now. And if he's not able to exert that influence for DZ, then DZ are going to find themselves consistently fighting from behind.
Also, NJR is playing decidedly, you know, flank-focused roles right now. He is in Visa office, which is the flank of DarkZero right now, trying to prevent C4s from below or just anyone coming up Visa stairs. And Kayak actually is trying to address this, challenging NJR right now in a direct gunfight. But Hyper is the one to get the lead-off pick. You talked about him earlier. He's been sat down by Jonka, though, so it's an exchange for these teams.
Jonka's 2-0, by the way, and both those kills are Hyper. The teams will trade back and forth, leaving us at an even 3v3. The focus for the bomb site is down in lobby, though much of that action is currently happening up top, upstairs. They've got clearance upstairs, or so they thought. Kayak retakes, though, and down goes Panbazoo. Where was he? Down below, playing that long angle. Look at this. All of G2 currently just smushed over by the Yellow Stairs. Eclipse's position at the top of Spiral. Gets spotted out
That is
on
Spiral,
the
yeah.
default cam.
No, the top one is Spiral. The bottom one is Banana. BC inside a CEO looking to drop into sight, but that's not going to be an easy thing to do. Eclipse is going to have to open that up for him. There's no other way. C4 will miss from G2, and that makes it a little bit easier for DarkZero, but the thing that's not going to make it easy is the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Only 20 seconds left. Eclipse's focus being upstairs means that he'll be the one to cover for BC. But the 3 players from G2 will be hunting him down, hoping for that one to be able to pull it off. Oh, but BC drops, outdueling Citizen, just running out of bullets. So the Eclipse is the next one down. 5 seconds left, spraying away. It's a hopeless endeavor, and G2 are up 2-0.
Solid round there from G2 and a very slow clear for DarkZero. They looked woefully unprepared for that attack. And now, you know, the first attack, you got to kind of just write it off. Yeah, DarkZero been looking on and off, good and bad through this tournament, and so you don't want to count it too early. But that second round looked much like the first one in that it was really not great coordination from DZ. They cleared admin office, and then what did they do? A whole lot of nothing for about a minute, I'd say. They try to convert into a clear for the full top floor, and they get that, but it costs way too much manpower. They lose their flank watch downstairs, and there's not a lot of answer back on those kills. And then, you've got 20 seconds left when you're trying to hit the site? It's just way too late in the round.
Well, an unfortunate result for DarkZero, and that sluggishness that came out was not exactly what you want to see. If you want to support G2, by the way, as they are currently up 2-0, and we all know that you like to change your allegiance based upon which team is doing better, you can buy the G2 Vigil skin that is presently available in-game.
Yes.
It's quite nice.
It is a nice skin. I really like what they did with the mask.
DarkZero also has some gun skins in the game, but they don't have a uniform.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to support DarkZero, you can do that as well through the R6 Share program. A set of the proceeds go back to the teams and Rainbow Six Esports across the board.
Good way to support your favorite team is by purchasing their skins whenever you see them available. Now, this setup here for G2, very interesting. You've got the castle, you've got the Melusi, lots of stuff for the attackers to clear out. It's an Archives Teller's defense, which means it's on 2 different floors, lots for the attack to clear. So it's the utility clear and it's ground that must be covered for DarkZero. And considering how slow their attacks have been thus far, especially on a shallow map like Consulate, I think this is going to be difficult for them.
See what kind of crafty setups G2 might have, as now through the 2 rounds that we've witnessed them, they have not gone with the conventional. That was something that G2 did last night when they played their matches, and I can't say it was very successful. Both times in the matches that we saw in which G2 went 0-2 for the day, they played very standard stuff, didn't seem like themselves. The earlier matchup today definitely looked like vintage G2, one of the top teams in the world, one of the top teams in EU so far this season. Can play up to. Right now, trying not to read into it too much through 2 rounds, though. G2 look like they're in significantly better form than when they were on Chalet yesterday against DZ.
I wonder what it was that got the morale back up. I'm happy that it happened, though, because it's always nice to see this competition. Pamzu on the cut here, trying to deny any rotation by Long Desk as the rest of his teammates attempt to clear top floor from admin office over. But once again, Parker, I have to point out that this is, I mean, not necessarily excruciatingly slow, but on the slower side of an admin clear is what we're seeing here from DarkZero.
That's 90 seconds through the round. There's a pulse all the way down in the server, by the way, giving calls, and that's Hungry. With that cardiac sensor, you can see up through those 2 floors, and that's exactly what he's done. Noticing the players that are presently up in admin. As the hatch is opened up, and Eclipse will continue to tear away with the floor. Hyper will go on to drone to help the rest of his team. Look at how close G2 is right now. Yeah, they're just a floor below, but if they've got nitro cells in their hands, this could be an explosive end for DarkZero.
Oh, nice shot from Hyper. You can't tell because we didn't see it, but you can tell thanks to the sound. There's at least one, I think probably 2 shots there. Well done there to start things off. And you need to get kills like that if you're Hyper to open things up for your team. That is your role. Hungry going to eat some damage as well. Put down bad. About 5-10 HP. He's going to have trouble in future engagements. Hopefully he'll be able to use the cardiac sensor well.
Grenade goes down, and DZ are sweeping through G2 right now, wiping the floor with them. A flawless round brewing for DarkZero, as Citizen and Hungry will be left to stand against G2's army. Citizen's retaken from above. Plant going down, and Hungry's being tracked by Jackal. Just like that, Hungry goes down, so Citizen will have to get in closer to the site There'll be one watching in that direction. Not a flawless round, not yet. Citizen will secure onto NJR, but the diffuser goes down. For G2 this round, seems like it's in an incredibly hard spot. And there you go. DZ and Eclipse in particular get the very final kill, and with it they pick up their first round so far on this map.
Good take there from DZ. I will say, again, it was somewhat slow on the initial clear upstairs in admin office, but once that job was done, it was kill after kill after kill for DarkZero. There wasn't a lot of answer back. In fact, there was none. You don't really count those kills at the end of the round. And a big part of that, I think, is because G2 were so well contained. Yeah, the Pulse was in play, but he was on the bottom floor, which means no C4 potential. He tried to rotate up to the middle floor so he could C4 the players in admin office, but it was too little too late at that point because Sledge had opened up so many rotation cut holes from above. And that is where we saw Hungry die on that Pulse. So G2, very well contained from DarkZero, or by DarkZero. Words are hard. And given that containment, there is a little bit of faith starting to be stoked here for DarkZero. I mean, considering the first 2 rounds, I was almost in a position where I was like, where's DarkZero? They decided to show up today? I'm a little curious. But no, they give us something good. I think they still need to speed things up, but yeah, it's good attack.
Well, it's certainly a far more competitive group than I think some people were anticipating. I know you and I, being NA League casters, had our reservations about DarkZero coming into this.
Yep.
Some of the EU casters that we spoke with, and EU analysts, shared similar sentiments about G2, not really understanding what was going to go on with EU. Overall, the region as a whole, not looking as strong as they have through the 2 days or a day and a half. There's still time to change that. BDS looks like one of the scariest teams of the tournament.
Yeah, they do. It's interesting to watch BDS because they've had struggles elsewhere, but here it looks routine for them.
It does. And with G2, if you're a fan of EU, I know that the G2 org has won just about everything there is to win in Rainbow Six through many times past. You wanted a good showing from G2, especially to keep this group competitive. For us, we never care who actually ends up winning as long as there's a good show. And so far, these 3 rounds have been about as good as we could have hoped for.
I like well-played Siege. It's nice to watch.
It really is.
So G2 on the roam upstairs here, trying to delay as long as they can. So far, they haven't had to do any job, but you could still say they've done a good job because DarkZero have spent a minute clearing admin office. Not the slowest, but it could be faster.
We've definitely seen teams clear out Consulate quicker than what we've seen from DarkZero thus far. That doesn't necessarily mean that DZ are slow.
Yep.
There were a couple times when on that Chalet matchup, DZ was slow against G2, but you know what? Through the mid-round, it did work.
Yeah.
There was patience. That was the word that you used to describe it. There was great patience from DarkZero before, and it certainly seems like it's here now.
Well, they need to have that same lethality, though, that they had on Chalet here on Consulate. We'll see if that transfers. Citizen will drop. Virtue still upstairs, and he will follow. There you go. G2 have vacated the top floor.
Half the round gone, not a single ticket damage done to anybody in the server.
Oh, he's going back.
Citizen does not want to relinquish this spot on yellow stairs. He'll hang on to it, fight tooth and nail for it, and oh my. The Malusi is going off, but DZ realize, hey, if they're all roaming, we'll just take the site for our own. Hyper and Panbazoo walk right in, and they just crush them. Yonka goes down, and Virtue in a 1v5. What is he going to do to be able to pull this one off? He's not going to do anything. That's the answer to our question as Panbazoo sits him down. DZ tie things up. They didn't even need to get the diffuser down as it's 2-2 with a flawless from DarkZero.
First 2 rounds were quite shaky, Parker, but that round right there was definitive, obviously, given in that it was a flawless. I absolutely adore the mid-round shot call by DarkZero to commit to that site hit. Many teams would have just spent the entire round chasing the roamers. And yeah, DZ are being somewhat slow, and yeah, you could call it patience. But I mean, it worked very well that round. Just because they can't translate it some rounds doesn't mean they won't be able to in others. It's kind of like it's kind of like Cyclops, you know? Like Cyclops is going to have their rounds where they're brazen, aggressive play that is very smart because it's coordinated. I'm not trying to call it dumb or bad. But they'll have rounds where that works great for them, and then they'll have rounds where that just falls flat. And I think we're seeing a similar but opposite type deal here with DarkZero.
Well, you try some rounds to change things up.
Yeah.
I think Nip was probably the best example we can think back to this. When Ninjas in Pajamas and SSG played in that fateful grand final back in SI 2020, the one thing that Nip did so well was that they never let up on pressure. Whether they were slow, whether they were fast, they were always setting the tempo. And they were always just as lethal, that lethality that you talked about. They were always just as lethal because they were in the driver's seat when it came to the pacing and the tempo of the match.
I'm of the... actually, you know, we'll talk about this later. The round is starting, and it's kind of a long-winded conversation. Now, G2, lots of fragging potential on their lineup. Take a look at that, all those operators. There's one key focus here for G2, and that is take fights, win fights. And that's apparent from the ops that they are picking here. The one exception, of course, would be Echo. But, I mean, we saw Hungry get a 4K with Echo earlier in the match. So, I mean, he's not playing it right now, but it looks like it might be another sight hit direct through yellow. This is on the middle floor. Here comes the sledgehammer.
Oh my, and it just gets torn right through. Trying to do something to it with Citizen, but Hungry falls first, and now control of the site is at least theirs. But inside the site, Diffuser is now down, and it's surrendered right in front of Kayak, who will sit over top of it. He's trapped in the corner, though, between a rock and a hard place. Can he make his way out? No, the grenade claims his soul, so Citizen is the one forced to go into action. Virtue has a line of sight on it from above. He could potentially net something, but he misses his opportunity, doesn't give himself away, giving information to the rest of his team. He can rotate through the hatch if he wants to. Eclipse takes out Yonka. So DZ walk away from this brawl with the upper hand. For how long, though? There's still half of the round to go, and Citizen wins that duel against Eclipse. It's short-lived as he's punished for it, and Virtue is left against the rest of DarkZero. A 1v2, but his position is from above. Still winnable. They don't really have the intel that they want. NJR holds on to the diffuser, but he's only at half HP. Virtue's position finally given away, shooting through the floor. NJR should have no problem being able to complete this one. If Virtue goes for the drop, the death drop, as we can often refer to it as, then it might be extremely challenging for him to pull something off. And you can look at that look on his face tells you everything you need to know. Manages to take out NJR, a miraculous shot. That was a bit of greediness from the little HP of NJR that was left, trying to soften up Virtue. So the newest member of DarkZero, Pambazu, plucked from the Tier 2 scene, can give DarkZero the lead here as long as Panda plays this one a little bit conservatively. Air jab goes off and Virtue's spot is known. He's running out of time. You've got to hurry, mate. 12 seconds, 10 seconds, he's on it. So Pambazu needs to get to it. Does he know it's going off? He hears it. You've got to run. 1 second left. No! What a rookie mistake. Bad comms from DZ. We don't know the culprit. But Virtue himself is surprised by that one. And G2 steal the round away.
Wow. All right. So, first of all, great call there from DZ. I love the rush play. It worked great. There was not much of a hold by Yellow Stairs on G2's side. It was basically free. They convert that into firm site control real quick. I love their Repellent as well. Good pincer movement from DZ. They get site control now. They establish man advantage through their excellent trading. And then right at the end after that, let's get to it. Right at the end after that plant, yeah, obviously NJR out of position. Unfortunate first pick. But it gets so much worse when we switch to Pambazu. Not only did he mistime his control of that diffuser, which can happen, he also messed up his Ash Charge from below. He tried to use an Ash Charge underneath to open below the diffuser so he could hold it from an advantageous angle. And he just missed because he shot it from Yellow Stairs instead of just going under the diffuser. Don't rush your play. And then, that's the funny thing, he rushed his play with the Ash Charge, and then he was too slow with the diffuser. I mean, it's comical for us as the spectators. We can watch and we can laugh about it. But it is crushing for DarkZero, who really ought to have won that round. This reminds me a little bit of the DZ match we had yesterday, where they brought it to 8-7, and they almost managed to beat Ninjas in Pajamas. Yeah, there were so many little mistakes like that where Nip capitalized, and we just saw G2 capitalize. Good job to Virtue for doing that.
I mean, you saw, we are both of Virtue's faces.
Yeah,
the
right.
first face where he made that, it's a universal symbol for I'm in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And then he ends up pulling it off. And the elation on his face, and well, frankly, the surprise, because I do think it was a very surprising result for G2. But
Jubilation as well.
we don't want to fixate on it too much.
Yep.
So we'll now move on to the very final defensive round. A tie is perfectly available right now if DarkZero pulls it out on this round. It was their round to lose before, Michael, and, well, they lost it. So this time around, you need much better success. It'll be a defense upstairs. This is the first console office defense for G2, as they've now played all 4 sites.
Last defense as well, as you mentioned, it's going to be an important one. If G2 go up 4-2, then all the potential that DZ has, well, I mean, they are the OT kings, so maybe they'll be able to bring us all the way. But it's going to be difficult. So control of the balcony and control of admin office here for DarkZero. Standard speed for them as of late. Push towards Soda. G2's only got 3 players on this top floor to rebuff and attack. 2 roamers off-site. Virtue by Banana and Citizen by the main lobby. Now, he's also got Hungry supporting from Zulu. Right now, though, DZ are focused entirely on the site. They should be able to get an execute off here, whether they know it or not.
Oh, they're going to test Hyper's reflexes as he stands on the stairs looking into the A-bomb site. One over by Connector, and even though he's got that Inox visor on, there'll be some smoke to stop him as 2 toxic canisters come out.
Oh.
Are these a little too early? We're not entirely sure because, well, Nitro Cell also goes off. 30 seconds left. Everybody's still alive. Citizen trying out dual Pambazoo, but on Repel, Pambazoo is better. Shrugs off some more damage from the window. Jonko with the DMR trying his best to help his team out, but it's Hungry to get the kill on BC. Virtue has made his way down below. If NJR doesn't spot this, then Virtue will be able to strike, heading up spiral stairs. NJR knows this. There he goes. Virtue punished for his transgressions. Hyper also gets dropped. It's a total mess right now. These teams just dueling back and forth. But Jonka, he's the star of that round and of the first half. G2 comes out ahead 4-2.
Yeah, and this could easily be a 3-3, but that's just not how the cookie crumbled. We've got 4 rounds now for G2, and they are looking much better than they did yesterday. I really, again, have to bring that up. It's great to see them make that full recovery and show us that they are a team that can compete at this level. We all knew it was true, but now we're seeing the proof. DarkZero, on the other hand, a little disappointing. I can't beat around that bush. A lot of these attacks have been kind of loose, very slow, and again, that patience, it can work for you. It's definitely viable in certain situations, but those situations are usually when you're getting picks off of the patience. G2 is just ignoring DZ, and we should focus on that. G2 clearly knows how DarkZero plays. They have clearly read into it, and they're saying, okay, if you're going to set up passive angles and expect us to peek into those angles, we're not going to. That's what G2 said throughout the defensive half, and now on attack, this is where DarkZero, on defense actually, can start to change that tempo.
10 seconds to we'll see what they put together. We'll revisit the operator bans now from both sides, just as something to touch upon before the action unfolds on our screen. Zero banned out by G2. DarkZero off attack. That ban will no longer hinder them. G2's defensive ban was on Wamai. So a little bit of denial. Jaeger is available. DZ not opting to go with much denial at all, in fact, if you look at it. If Wamai is banned, then Jaeger and Aruni end up being the 2 that can run so frequently. Malusi can also work to soak up some of that utility, but she's also not being brought. Instead, DZ are going with Intel and then Intel denial. So they're going to try to beat G2 to the punch here. With the way that G2 are sweet and hitting their shots, that might not be a terrible idea, but Hyper stops the ensuing push. They'll double up on BC. He doesn't bring anybody down with him. That's a brazen play. Eclipse now on the flank as Pambazoo takes down Virtue and DarkZero regains a numbers advantage.
Now, G2 is in sight with Hungry, but he is on an island. No support, except for the support from the Repel, but that's very limited. Barely even a factor here. All that can do is cut the rotation from Piano Door. And DZ knows that there's no plant going down, and they know they don't need to force this. They will take the patient route. They have control of the situation despite having lost their own site. That's great patience that actually works much better for DZ on defense.
NJR will command the hatch above. He's also got the opening in through the main door. This is a lobby defense, just in case you hadn't been paying attention.
G2 are just waiting for picks to happen. They're having trouble with the idea of forcing an engagement, and they're expecting DZ to want to retake site, but it's just not happening.
Well, I mean, look at the lineup for DZ.
Yeah.
Not only do you have the stall from the Legion, but then you've got 3 operators who are going to be thwarting your ability to gain that information. This is what I said. They wanted to take that info away from G2 and then beat them in the ensuing fight.
And they've done that.
Speaking of intel, Hyper has one, and he's going to do some extensive damage, but Hungry walks away from that one. He's trapped in the bathroom, and he knows that this is a tough spot to find himself in. Kayak needs the all clear and the go-ahead to rappel on into Piano. Will he be able to get it? Gonka's going to hit one of those goo mines. Eclipse is there for an easy finish, and the numbers for G2 will continue to dwindle at this point. Cut him off a rope. Kayak swings in. He'll go for broke. Hungry on such low HP, and Kayak finds that there's actually no real contest. He could conceivably get that diffuser down. A pre-fire from Hungry will net absolutely nothing. Another kill from Eclipse comes in, and now Kayak in a 1v4 to close out the final 40 seconds of this round. They know he's in Piano. They can hear his gun firing away. But what is he going to be able to do with it? Toying around the bomb chassis. This is just DZ playing with their food, and they'll finally consume them whole.
The structure there from DZ and the patience. It's the same exact patience that we saw on attack, but this time it is on G2 to initiate. They're on attack. They have to do things. So because G2 are the ones forced into the driver's seat, and DarkZero are not dealing with a ridiculously passive G2 roster, they are able to get the picks that they desire. So DarkZero, because of getting those picks, find themselves in a great position. And they don't even care that they lost site control because, I mean, what does it matter? There's no plant going down. They have firm control of the objective, all the plant spots. Yeah, there's no one in bathroom anymore, but we'll retake when it's necessary. And that's exactly what DarkZero did. So many more amateur teams would have rushed straight into the site as soon as they lost it. Not so here for DZ. And it's really interesting to see the way that patience works on defense so well, but not on attack, just because of who's doing the initiating.
Yep. Well, the setup from G2 worked out exactly as they had intended, and it's a beautiful thing to see that. The one big compliment that we've given to DZ over the last 2 days is just simply how much more structured they look. And to some casual viewers, it might sound like we're pandering to DarkZero, but I can promise you that's not the case. In fact, I feel like I've made fun of DZ more than just about any other org.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch...
Except for, yeah, I was going to say United when they were around, but I used to make fun of them a lot.
I mean, you know, they're doing better now.
Burns knows that I like him.
Yeah, no, but I mean, if you watch the NAL, you will definitely hear plenty of critique for DZ when the casts are up. And there's still plenty that's been had through this match. It's not done yet, though. It'll go both ways, and it has done. Plenty to commend as well, as these teams are competing at what is currently the premier event to be competing at.
Absolutely.
Hungry on Bathroom Rappel. Looks like G2 wants to go for possibly a top floor clear. Maybe from CEO. They've already opened up that above that rotation on the staircase there. That's going to prevent you from going up Visa staircase as a defender. Very powerful.
Nice big line of sight that goes in. Default will fall out, and Hungry repels in, looking for a rotate that leads to the top of Yellow Stairs, but he won't find one. He'll continue to hunt, as he's just going in dry at this point. There's no extensive drone work being done. Down below, near the garage, inside a cafeteria, there's BC trying to quarterback a play. The hatch opens up, and Hungry could be able to give himself a nice line of sight if he continues to work away at this, and I don't know if he's going to be able to see into the bathroom from that angle. Eclipse is wary of it, though. The double reinforced panel might stop him, but if there's a brief window at the top, Hungry could potentially pick him up.
Nothing too interesting happening so far. G2 got that top floor control. They want to turn it into middle floor control, because once they've done that, they can start opening above. Now, the Buck can do it from the top floor. It's much less efficient, but you could do it. NJR will take a lot of damage from that nade. A lot. And that's going to put him in a bad position in further engagements, but he still has those 3 gas canisters. So of all of the operators to lose that HP, Smoke's definitely the best option for the defense, because he can do damage from afar.
Indisputably so. So there's roughly about a minute left for G2 to get to the building. They faltered on the setup from DarkZero, and DarkZero seems to have doubled up on this intel denial style of lineup, but something that suits the downstairs site a little bit better. G2 have not been able to come to blows the way they've wanted to, barring that single frag grenade that took some life away from NJR.
It's been a very slow take from G2. They're in the last 45, and they're only now starting to open up above. DZ still has a full lineup, and despite that damage to NJR, the panel hasn't been opened up. That's going to be tricky. They're looking for the Kai's now.
And NJR has all 3 of his smokes left. So Nitro Cell still on the board for BC. Hyper with gun in hand puts some work in the Citizen, and that'll be the very first kill. That means the final 30 seconds with 9 players still alive is going to be an absolute nightmare for both of these teams. Buckle up. For G2, this could be another round to just stretch your lead. For DZ, it could be a tie game. But G2 are just so slow on this one, and they're going to feed themselves in. Eclipse is not able to get the kill that he needs. Kayak can't get the plant down either, and you can see the look of frustration on the face of G2. 3 big kills from Hyper, and Hungry upstairs won't be able to do too much as Hyper gets a quad to finish it off. And G2 ties things up 4-4.
And you could bet if the opportunity were presented, Hyper would have gotten the ace that round. DZ firing on all cylinders, and they give G2 a taste of their own medicine in that patience, in that slow play on defense. It's working for both teams here on Consulate. Now, that specific round that we just saw, a lot of time from G2 clearing the top floor. A lot of time from G2 clearing the middle floor. And you know what? Not a lot of contention from DZ. Not really, directly confronting the roam clear. G2 just did it very slowly. Yeah, and then they got into piano. 50 seconds left, maybe a minute, and then G2 start really opening up from above to potentially put in work. But 50 seconds left and you haven't opened the main wall. Often that is the first thing a team will do in the round. You can do the full clear after opening the main wall. That is a thing that is possible. It's actually not even that complicated. It's up to you how you want to manage it. But because that wall was still closed, it added an extra 10, 15 seconds to the overall round there for G2. More stuff they had to do, and it was just rushing. It was just, you can't really do anything with all the positions you've gained because you have to rush and rush. And that's why we see G2, as this becomes a tie game, taking their tactical timeout.
Smart time for Shaz to settle the lads down and try to get their head back in the game. As this match has been extraordinarily close, but keep in mind there was that one round that arguably should have been DarkZero's, the misplay that came in from Pambazoo that ended up costing them that round. This could be a 5-3 game for DZ, in which I have no doubt that Shaz would have probably called the timeout at the same time, but you have a lot more to correct at that point.
And, keep in mind, focusing on Pambazoo, he has just about made up for that mistake in his performance through this match so far. He's been doing very well, as you would expect for Pambazoo. That's part of why he's on this roster. A great individual fragger and young talent that has a lot of Siege left to learn. So keep that in mind with your judgment of him. I think all of these circumstances are learning experiences.
And people also need to realize that as casters, our job is to call what we see, and sometimes that involves critique. No player is above criticism, feedback, good or bad.
Yeah, I mean, one little caveat here with Pambazoo that does negate some criticism is that he was thrust directly into T1 play. He had a little bit of T2 play, a little bit of experience, but almost immediately he's going straight into the big leagues. And his career has been very short. I think he's got, almost certainly he's got the shortest career of any player in this lobby. I mean, when compared to these other players, he really hasn't. And that's impressive that he's playing as well as he is playing at this level. And yeah, that's it. A little mistake here and there is not going to end a career. Especially not one as promising as his.
Nope, and I mean he's a tremendous player. So.
Is that your way of saying? Yep. Yeah.
No, it's just it's. You don't ever want people who are watching to think you're being conspiracy, especially if there's a hive mind where people can very easily send nasty messages. We've seen players talk about that before, but that's a conversation for another
time. Yeah.
Of course, because we're now a minute into round number 9.
And notice that there has not been a pick yet.
And there has been a very sluggish amount of energy from G2.
Both teams on attack, frankly. It's been the same story here, repeated now by G2, started by DZ. And, well, the slow attacks answered by the slow defenses. The defense has been favored quite a lot in that equation. And Yeah, continuing to seek that favor, but uh-oh, look at that. Hungry will get the first pick onto Hyper, and that's your top performer for DZ gone.
Talked about Hyper being on the board, being so pivotal for this DarkZero team when he was the very first pick back in round number 1. And, well, his presence will be sorely missed. So the players on your team that you're going to expect to pick up the slack better start doing it. It's been a quiet game for NJR. That's out of character for him so far. And oh no, Citizen says, hold on one second. I got some killing to do. NJR could have potentially fallen victim to a grenade, but the sluggishness from G2, well, guess what? It's still netting them kills. NJR and Pambazoo answer back. And on this upside-down rappel, NJR's got a tiny, tiny angle to hit. He'll just very narrowly evade yet another grenade thrown out from Citizen as Junka gets lit up by Pambazoo. And Pamba will continue to exist in the position he's in. NJR has just made this very winnable for his team as Junka's still on upside-down rappel. And the two players from DZ are now positioned over by the top of stairs. And Citizen somehow manages to walk away from that one. So NJR will reposition by the window. You're going to need to ensure that Pambazoo is also watching that same angle. But Citizen doesn't have intel. Pambazoo's been dropped as the push from G2 comes into the same direction. NJR will need to be the savior. He's got Citizen to his right. If he can cross over, he'll have to stop the plant in its tracks, but he has no information. He sees it, but Citizen's better in the duel. The timeout works, and G2 takes the lead right back.
Wow, what a kill from Dronka in the sight to open that out. As we saw Pambazoo go down in sight, things became very tenuous for DZ. Although I have to say that was certainly a round that G2 should have won. It started off great, taking down Hyper right here, and there was 2 kills for Citizen. That first one that we saw, and a second one we didn't, plus this third at the end. BC tried to his teammate downstairs. He tried to rotate to get that engagement and take out Citizen before he can nade NJR in Projector. And he just ended up being another casualty for DZ. NJR fought tooth and nail to try and bring that one back. And I feel bad for him because he put so much effort into that round, so much elbow grease, and he really did not get a lot of benefit out of it. So we'll go to the Archives Tellers defense here as G2 regain their lead.
So this is back and forth as this is shaped up to be a battle of the Titans as these two regions collide. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but G2 still has not lost to a North American team. Did that streak break at the 6 Invitational?
At the 6 Invitational, I'm not sure. At this event, I think they actually lost to
They lost to DarkZero already,
yeah.
But before that.
Oh, before that?
Yes, before that.
I'm going to have to double check it. But
because I was going to make a point of reference how at this current moment DZ is the only North American team that's defeated G2. In order to do that, I want to make sure that I'm not going to be foolish and say, well, it's an invitation.
It doesn't happen very often. I mean, in recent history, there hasn't been a lot of national competitions. So I'll check.
That's true. We'll pull that information for you, but if DarkZero ends up being the only team to humble G2, mind you, not the same G2 team that we knew for so long, that's obviously a feather in your cap, and I'm sure DarkZero is very happy about that one. Now for this 10th round defense, G2 sees match point. They can taste it. It awaits them, but they will need to conquer a Teller's Archives defense by DarkZero first. That'll be the obstacle to overcome. Primary focus for G2 stands at the moment to take control admin. There's a couple bodies from DZ playing up there. Nobody really wants to give a single inch. And the characterization from this attack that we've seen thus far from G2 is it's been very slow. Methodical, plodding. You can either praise it or you can condemn it.
Well, I mean, it's mostly working for the defense, the slow strategy, for both teams, as we've discussed. But hey, G2 have been good at converting it so far, especially in that last round. Nothing yet. Admin control is solid for G2, especially with the mirror window setup. Now that means that there's a lot of investment in terms of utility that DZ has made upstairs that is not going to pay out very well because even though they didn't lose anybody, they didn't waste a lot of time either. This has been one of actually the faster attacks from G2 so far. They're setting up for that Visa pressure. Once they get that control in admin, which they have, they can start opening above the archives, and that can limit the options for C4s and make DZ's hold very difficult.
And they're still going to be able to make these calls with NJR down below. Hungry was in this same position when he was on Pulse just a couple rounds before the side swap happened. Now it's DarkZero's time to be the one to give that information. 1 minute to go. And still lots of remodeling being done by Buck. Buck, an operator whose play in regular season is quite low, but you're at a pretty good mark right now. Speaking of, we want to talk about the pulse down below of NJR. Well, if you're Kayak holding onto that diffuser, you're going to need to be a little bit nimbler than you have been. Don't stop. Kayak goes down for 1 second. Eclipse gets shredded, by the way, but Kayak stopped a double from Hungry. Still in the same position. No time to reload. He's got the pistol out. G2's cleaning up on the score sheet. But Pambazoo gets a free kill, as free as the day is long. Now watching towards that rotation. It's going to be Pambazoo down for the count, and Hyper in a 1v3 will be what potentially seals the deal for DarkZero. Hyper manages to get one, but the Roni will require a reload. They need to grab the diffuser and start planting. They only have 5 seconds left, and their Hungry goes. You need to cover and make sure that Hyper doesn't pull this one off, because he can catch Hungry right then and there. And what an absolute showing from Hyper. Excellent gameplay. And it's a tie game.
What a massive brain play there from Hyper. How did he know the coverage would be above? What an amazing read. G2 had so much control, but the only thing they didn't control is this rotation here by Spiral. And because of that lack of control, Pambazoo stops the initial plant. What an important kill. That resets the clock there. Now DZ, they have the advantage again as we start to dwindle in time. And I sincerely thought that Hyper was going to run through the door and into the waiting arms of the G2 player covering from above. And he just doesn't do that because he's playing Rooney, and he can just punch a hole in a wall, big enough to see anyone on the other side. 0-0-0 on the clock, and Hungry goes down. Beautiful play. I really thought that G2 had that, but
so did I. I mean,
yeah,
what a play by Hyper. Those last 2 kills were so enormous for his team, and I don't know if they had intel. Honestly, that's a question for a post-match interview if I've ever seen one.
Definitely, Parker. So, even round count yet again. And this is the, okay, that's the second time this has happened. I didn't bring it up the first time because it was just like 10 HP from a shotgun blast. But now it's happened again, and it's 50 HP off of your top performer. Like, I know that Hyper hits heads, but just give him the best chance that you can, okay? Anyway.
Anyway, we're we might need overtime between these 2 teams. I mentioned it yesterday on the broadcast. I talked to Shas before he walked in the building, and I said, what's your strategy? And he said, well, just don't take DZ to overtime. It certainly looks likely, as these teams are just unable to shake each other. I will say that win or lose, it might not be any consolation for them in terms of the standings, but G2 have looked significantly sharper. And they did in their matchup on Chalet. And that goes to show you that prep and maybe a little bit of nerves can completely change the outcome of a matchup.
I would blame it all on nerves, to be honest. But
I mean, G2 certainly did.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they looked nervous when they were playing yesterday. So, G2 and DZ still very lockstep with each other right now. Admin office is clear, cafeteria is controlled, opening up above to try and cut rotations. The standard stuff here from G2. Hungry is alone up here. A lot more focus being placed on Visa. Now that actually opens an opportunity, of course, for DZ to retake above, but they're counting on the fact that that won't happen because it's very unlikely for it to happen because that would be weird.
Look at this. They're just waiting on the call for Hungry's position inside a copier right now, as NJR has a Nitro Cell lineup primed and ready, and it might have 1 to 2 names from G2 on it. We will wait with bated breath and suspense, but NJR is now potentially worried about getting pushed from over towards the Visa. A Mozzie drone being piloted by Hyper. That's so critical to give information, and it's still there.
Oh, the C4 could come any moment now. There it is, but baited by Hungry. What a masterful play from him to realize he was in trouble.
And that drone will continue to just scoot on by. No more information right now, as most of those players from G2 have vacated the area. It's a lobby defense, as you see that bomb chassis silhouette through the main door. Again, another slow attack. Very well orchestrated and planned. Just as I say that, though, Kayak guns down NJR from above. Yonka was there as well if they needed it, but he doesn't need to expose himself at this point. The damage that had been done earlier on to Hyper doesn't necessarily mean the best for DZ moving forward, especially in these final 30 seconds. So Eclipse will retake Banana. Yonka's got the long line of sight on him all the way from Visa. And that's not a gunfight that I suspect that Eclipse is ready for. All the while, from above, there's 2 players from DarkZero that Hungry is trying to hunt down. Hungry falls to Pambazoo, they're traded off. Eclipse manages to get Yonka, and now Hyper with one as well. Kayak has to fall off, but he gets destroyed by Eclipse. Citizen, the safety net. 5 seconds remain with the diffuser in hand. Match point awaits the victor. Citizen wanders on in, and he's going to be immobile. The question is now, does Eclipse or Hyper get the kill? They give it to Tyler, and DZ move to match point.
Wow. What play there from DarkZero. It almost looked like G2 would have gotten that collapse, but not so. There are one too many players in positions that G2 just wasn't aware of. The fact that that plant was stopped in the main lobby is devastating for G2. And I find it curious, because I don't think that the planter was particularly exposed. That potentially could have been a plant for front door. And further, Citizen, oh boy, was he landing his shots. If you keep Citizen on that cover, on the the Ana, then he would have probably hit those shots, and he probably would have allowed the plant to go down. You're looking at a post plant, it's a very different story. But for some reason, the planter on G2 decided to get up and run for Mez, and he got gunned down in the process.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many
Tough
bombs
stuff.
as they can.
By the way, while we look at this match point, we do have a spoiler for you.
Attackers have located a bomb.
The spoiler is not that you can get the DarkZero skin. That's true.
But
But game, that's not the spoiler, so I plug your ears.
As we plug.
Team 1 just defeated BDS 7-5. And what I would say is quite an upset given the way that Team 1 has been playing so far.
Parker, what is this event?
Upsets don't matter. Well, what is it? It's best of ones.
No, I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's best of ones.
It is
where
best
you can
of ones.
have, you can have
Yep.
a lengthy break
No,
between,
it's
right?
true, it's true.
I mean, Team 1 played much earlier today. There's been
10 seconds
5
to
hours,
insertion.
6 hours between this match and their last match.
But I mean, we're seeing
Spending lots of time on aim lab.
we're seeing completely different teams, map to map. And yes, admittedly, the best of one's a major factor. But it's just, I don't know, it's been a weird event. Oh, Twitch Drone's going to get both of the Kayits. Wow, that was free. Take that. All right, cool. So G2 will be able to open up that wall real easy. They also have the Thermite, which means much bigger holes.
We've been seeing a lot of Twitch over the last couple days and being used very differently. Speculation has been that it's because the gun on land is just so strong.
So good. You got to understand, gunfights in general on land, if you've never experienced them, you can't possibly know, but it's way different.
Just night and day.
Really, yeah,
Absolutely
completely
night and day.
different. And, I mean, you can hold angles. I mean, that's crazy. Holding angles in Siege, you don't do that unless it's like a crazy off angle that no one's going to expect, or a pixel or something. Otherwise, you want to be the one peeking. But on land, holding an angle is feasible.
Device
It's a
planted.
tricky little air jab that we've seen a couple times, but
Yeah, I like that.
you know you're going to see it more and more.
Yeah, probably see that in ranked a lot more after today.
What a triumphant run this has been for DarkZero, by the way. They currently sit atop the group with 7 points. What could have thrown a wrench in the plan for the rest of the group would have been a victory for G2 here and absolutely plunged it into chaos. But what it looks like, unless G2 can salvage this last round, go to overtime, which means you go to overtime against DarkZero. But if G2 is unsuccessful here, then there'll be 10 points on the board for DZ. The likelihood of them not making the playoffs falls to basically 0. They're already a heavy favorite to make it.
I will say in this position that we find ourselves, when you're DarkZero, you're on match point and you're defense, and you're just waiting out the clock, which is exactly what DZ's doing. It feels really good. It's like there's a sense of, you know, pressure that's slowly being alleviated from your chest every second that passes where one of your teammates doesn't get picked. And that's what we're seeing right now.
No, absolutely. Well, yet again, the final minute of action unfolds in front of our eyes, and nobody has faltered one bit. Every single player still alive in this lobby as G2 have taken their sweet time on every execute. They've only been successful 1 time. They're going to need to double up on that number, or else the game is over for them. It'd be a split day at this point.
There's still gas canisters, I would imagine. Yes, all 3 for NJR as we hit the last 30 seconds.
Yeah. And once again, it's going to get exceptionally messy. There's an echo in play as well. Goodness knows where those yokai drones are. And toxic gas will blanket the entry point on in. G2 will need to barrel through head first while also watching these hatches from above, and Virtue almost gets a freebie, but BC answers back before a belated trade. G2 notices top, and they're in the midst of the smoke. Kayak breathing it in, and he's slowly dying! He's been dropped down. Citizen will need to get the diffuser, but it's Eclipse's last one alive. He's got the shotgun in hand, giving his position away. He knows how tough this is. All he needs to do is stop the plant from going down, but he doesn't have intel as to where it is. Trying to open it up, it's successful, and now the opportunity is lost. A cleanup from G2 above secures overtime, and we go for at least 2 more rounds.
Oof, that was a close one there, Parker. It easily could have been a DZ round, but not quite. Just a few seconds off, not enough denial, not enough winning those fights. This position here from Virtue, yes, it's traded out, but he did trade literally with BC, so it's a 2-for-1, and you've alleviated pipe pressure. That's great play from Virtue. Now the rest of G2 can push in through the breach, get that diffuser down, and even though the first plant attempt was stopped and there wasn't much time left, they still manage it in the end. Again, dying seconds, but that's all that really matters. One thing I find curious about that round is that DZ, they didn't decide to go for like a double flank, which is something we see a lot. Instead, you know, let's rush 2 people through security hallway. Don't know if that's a play. Most teams in that situation would try to go for a double flank up spiral or Visa to try and, you know, change things, you know, give yourself some initiative when the push starts coming in. But we didn't see that, and instead we actually saw a very, very late hit flank from Eclipse, which was clearly not the play. They could have used his muscle on site, frankly.
Absolutely. A valiant effort on that retake, though, from him, but just not enough information and not enough holes that have been created in the floor. Now, the funny thing is that in a standard matchup, a lot of that floor is going to be taken out by a sledge.
More of it, yeah.
But it wasn't. It was almost suspiciously still intact.
Yeah, well, that, I mean, I would say it was planned, Parker, but their first plant attempt was behind Black Car, not White Van, so I don't know. It's a stretch. I think it was just a coinky-dink there, and I think that G2 benefited from it.
I was kidding for dramatic effect, but thank you for sucking all the fun out of it.
All right, you know what? That's what I do. They call me Captain Buzzkill.
Who calls you?
Nobody except for myself.
There you go. Excellently well done.
Thank you.
So this has been an incredibly tense match, but some of these rounds, despite it being a 6-6 scoreline, some of these rounds have been extremely one-sided. They haven't always gone down to the bitter end.
No. Now, this has been a very interesting match so far, and overtime, very important. Got to welcome everybody from the B stream over here to the A stream. It's pretty cool over here. I think you'll like it. This has been a good match.
Is the B stream done?
Well, I mean, they're watching us. I don't know if it's fully done, but they are watching us.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, what a run out from Hungary, and it punishes NJR. Nomad down for the count. This looks eerily similar to what we saw, but with it being Hyper, the first casualty previously. This is a boon for G2.
Yeah, Hungary has been putting up a very impressive performance here. 14 kills for the man. He's at 20 HP though, so he'll probably die in the next fight. But he's got that cardiac sensor. This is like reminiscent of that last time when he got lit up early on, but this time he got a pick for it.
Survivability
is very important. This clear here from DarkZero is still focused on that middle floor, and it's going to be successful. There are no defenders in a position to stop this, apart from possibly C4s from below.
So we talked about in the previous round where Sledge just does a number on the floor, and it allows you to actually retake through the same avenue created by the attackers. 2 nitro cells go off, and they are not anywhere near as effective as they need to be. No damage done to DarkZero off of either of those explosives.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising considering they had the cardiac sensor to guide them. But it's done now. Hungary still has 1 C4, and I imagine there are 3 gas canisters for Kayak, so the denial for the plant is still there and ready for G2 when the site attack comes. Junka is going to push up on Black Heart. This is very dangerous the way he's positioned himself, especially as the wall is being opened. Oh, no. He's now between a rock and a hard place. He
is stuck at this point. He'll have to fight his way out. Might have a reprieve, but there's so much damage being done to him, and he knew that he was playing to die at this point. Eclipse struggling a little bit with the secure, but he wants that kill. Yes, sir. There you go. Yanka seemed almost immortal on that one. The teams now stand at even footing, but a big double play from Eclipse as now he gets Citizen as well. 2 for the price of 1. But don't count out G2. Hungry on the retake. Guns down Eclipse. Virtue's been dropped as well, so G2 does trail. Kayak getting very aggressive, but Hyper wins the duel. Hungry's the lone man up for G2, and it's almost a reverse from previous rounds. He tries to outduel Hyper, but the bars end up being a more formidable foe as BC goes for a plant very safely far away from Hungry. And there's no way that G2 is going to be able to stop this one. Another look of frustration goes across their face. And unless we see an absolute miracle performed in front of our eyes, this should be easy for DZ to hold off. Just like that, like clockwork. Pambazoo on the ground to secure the round for DarkZero.
Frankly, Parker, I might have considered that winnable for Hungry had he full HP, but he did not. The plant spot was not ideal, obviously, deep inside of Kitchen. That is retakeable, very retakeable. So, we have now seen 2 unsuccessful defenses of the bottom floor in a row. It's been pretty bad for both teams, and you mentioned it, they looked a lot like each other, but inverted. It's kind of fun to watch. Now the score is 7-6. DarkZero finds themselves up 1. And the big question is, where will they go for their defense? Because they just lost the bottom floor the same way that G2 lost the bottom floor. So, I don't know. Not
sure. This is interesting. You might as well take it, right? You just won that round, but you now know that you're going to be going on to defense. You need to be a little bit apprehensive. This has been a defender-sided Consulate thus far.
Very, and part of that for me is, again, and I mentioned it a few times, don't want to sound too much like a broken record, but both the attack and the defense have been very slow.
Yes.
Not unwilling to engage is the way I would describe it. And that always favors the defense if they're both doing it. If you're the attack and the defenders rather are being very aggressive, then it favors the attack, but that's obviously not what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So tactical timeout, I think this is good timing, Parker. I think, like you can even plan out both of your rounds. You could plan out your first defense, and as a contingency, you could be like, here's our strat if we go to attack. You aren't going to know necessarily what site you're attacking, but something to be considered. Having a pocket defense round would be huge for DarkZero right here. And they can go anywhere they want. They're not restricted at all. So whatever they decide, they're going to be well planned on it.
So Mint, the new coach of the team, filling in for BC, who's now actively playing again.
They kind of swapped in a way.
They did swap. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
Well, you have to hope that this gives, for DarkZero fans, a little bit of insight into what to do next. Keep in mind that G2 will also be spending that time discussing how they're going to tackle it.
It's true. They're going to have some time to consider their options here. But the favor does lie at the feet of DZ, considering they get to choose the site, and G2 has no idea where they're going to be attacking.
That's correct.
Yeah. So this is, they had to do a little bit of guessing. They brought a Ying. It's interesting.
And it's not Hungry on it.
Yeah, what's up with that? Hungry had like one of the fastest aces ever on Ying.
Tremendously talented player right now, leading his team 15-9. It's the highest kills in the lobby. Next is Hyper, 14-6, just in terms of where the teams stand with their lethality.
We've got some other players that are close to. Eclipse is at 13. Impressive performance from him. He doesn't necessarily play the hard fragger roles.
Correct.
So seeing him perform like that's very important. It does give you an edge. Well, his top floor setup is interesting. Looks like they have a shield in Bosco corner, I think. Although I didn't see quite clearly. Hyper's playing downstairs. They do, yeah. Okay. So this is going to be a hard hold here for NJR. So NJR actually has been playing in Projector a lot, whether this is the site or otherwise. He just seems comfortable in that position, and he's done very well there. So I think having NJR there is good. G2's tried to counter him in that position a few times. It's not been working for them.
Obviously a tense round. DarkZero looking to go 2-0 over G2. G2 trying to salvage something and make it so that a shot at the group stages remains open for them. This has become a very competitive group with Damwon Kia defeating G2 last night. And Ninjas in Pajamas having some stumbles. So this second spot, this DZ looks almost certain to make it out of this group. The second spot is still very much wide open. So a lot on the line here for G2, who definitely look like they're in much better form today than yesterday.
One thing I'm worried about for DZ is them getting in their own heads here in these last 2 minutes, because they've done that a lot. We've seen them do that a lot. They did it against NIP. It's like your sense of manifest destiny starts to culminate, and oh boy, it's so exciting, and then you lose track of playing the game.
Yeah.
And I'm just, for DZ's sake, I hope that's not happening. But we'll see. G2's sake, I bet they really wish it were.
Hyper was hoping for G2 to take the bait over by Zed, but no, the drone gets spotted, and then Hyper just retreats because he doesn't want to deal with it himself, so off he goes. The Mute Jammers in very obvious locations right now, confounding G2 on their entry. And with how slow G2's executes have been, and the fact that DZ favors these aggressive intel denial comms, I have no doubt that G2 will have some struggles here.
The fact that Eclipse just got out of that sticky situation with no damage incurred is huge, especially as we hit the last minute. G2 are doing everything they can to get a pick, and they're getting nothing so far.
BC's going to tempt fate playing around the bomb chassis. If he dies, so goes those gas canisters. He's still got all of them left in his pocket. He sees the edge of the rifle in the hands of Citizen. So he's going to try to police that yellow stairs corridor. Nobody can go over there. Engaging. This is a 10 shot, and BC's under fire from multiple angles, but it's Kayak with the longer range to win that one. The first pick goes in favor of G2. They're going to need 4 more. Nitro Cell from Eclipse goes off, but G2 still have not decided to get in the building yet. You've got 30 seconds left to go, lads. You've got to make it work. Kayak goes in amidst the smoke, looking for the plant to go down. He'll do it himself. Eclipse falters, but Panbazoo does it. Hungary's down for the count. Panbazoo finished off. Hyper's the insurance policy. Diffuser goes down, and Kayak still sits on it. Hyper knows he can't swing because there's one on the window. Pre-fire through the wall, why don't you? Maybe get a little bit lucky with that one. NJR will retake with Hyper in tow. They are, unfortunately for TC fans, at a disadvantage, and it will only get worse now, as NJR will have to go up against the rat-a-tat-tat of the Ying. That's 1 kill, but 2 more, and it's a crossfire to push us to round 15 between these two teams.
G2, what a setup. And it worked because the defenders were too slow, too passive, too far back. All the angles controlled. Bathroom window, connector window, both of the CEO windows, yellow stairs window. G2 is playing the rappel game, everybody, and it worked out great. That's part of why teams, especially North America, do not like to go to CEO any longer. And the only way to counter that type of play is to get lucky when directly trying to challenge one of those players on rappel. And I say get lucky because they have the advantage, very decisively have the advantage in that gunfight. Or to go for a run out somewhere, to go for some aggro play on another part of the map and find one of them on rappel and open that up for your teammates. Those are the ways that you counter what we just saw from G2. And DZ did not get either of those. They didn't try for the runouts, and they didn't get lucky on the engagements.
Well, sometimes it just comes back to bite you, doesn't it? That passiveness, that patience that we've seen from these teams, they understand how much is on the line, so yeah, they're going to take their time. This is a tale as old as time with Rainbow Six as well. Whenever it gets down to the last 2 rounds, teams just take their sweet time.
They really do. I mean, it's the nerves, and I was discussing it earlier. You get to this point where you're like, oh yeah, we've got this. They're right on the precipice of victory. This is our moment. And it swells up in your chest, and it's like a airbag inflating in your chest to the point where you can't breathe anymore. And because you can't breathe, you can't play the game well. And it does happen. I mean, it's a descent. It's a descent. Okay. The players. I mean, I've watched too many Siege games that are just like this, where they just get progressively worse as it goes on. Okay. I think we can agree on that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what we are seeing here, though, are 2 very good teams that are so close to victory both. And there is no clear advantage for either side, and that is the best type of Siege. That C4, if it had hit, would have changed everything and quite possibly would have demoralized DZ, but it didn't, and that's huge.
They like this Amaru pick from Hyper, but nothing came of it last time, if you recall. He's now in a position to potentially do some more damage. The drone will go on in and sees Yonka, who also spots it himself, his peripheral, and now he repositions.
The only way I could see that Amaru being useful is potentially on a quick rappel in through PN. Oh, first pick here, and it's NJR onto Kayak. That's your smoke gone. Not your top performer necessarily, but definitely a formidable foe felled there by DZ.
Absolutely not that first pick that you want to surrender. Just as damaging as when Hyper was the first one killed on DZ's side of things. So now G2 is going to know what that feels like. Some of the staying power that comes in the denial from a smoke, absent.
It's also one of the 2 anchors that existed. We still have 3 defenders on the top floor. Now, they're going to start rotating as we see Hungry come back, but it's just a heavy extension for G2, which leaves your site very weak.
You're going to try to play off of Virtue's position above. Amira as well on the board will allow them to see a better line of sight and angle, but I haven't seen a lot of Mira play here so far today. These are just small things for us to look at. Both of these teams treating each other with tons of respect as there's a minute to go. And with the exception of that one casualty, make it 2 as Yonka gives himself away, and he's immediately pounced on by Panbazoo, who himself is under fire from above, so he'll have to scamper off, lick his wounds somewhere else, but he won't have time to do that as Virtue punishes him. But Virtue's about to lose a line of sight as there's some smoke to cut him off. Hyper takes out Citizen. Where is he flying on in? A Nitro cell from below could spell doom for BC, diffuser in hand. But Hungry's not looking to rip it just yet. The pings go in, and BC will be blown sky high. Hungry will need to be the one to save his team from defeat. It's a 1v3. DarkZero looking to put this one away and secure a spot moving forward. They've got the diffuser in hand, and this is the marathon mile for Hungry. He's got plenty of information, but that Vector's not the gun that you want in your hands. This is an almost impossible task for him. And if he plays this wrong, he'll get cut off by Eclipse, but he wastes some time. He could see that the defuse is going down, but he's not able to stop it in time, so there's a ton of gunfire going in his direction, and Eclipse will come in for the wraparound to shut him down. Scary moments there for DZ, but they stick it, and they go up 2-0 over G2 with a huge 15-round victory.
Wow, what a last round there. DarkZero, big win, but boy, did it look shaky, Parker. Oh my, the control was weird. Not anyone by Yellow Stairs for that presence. Panbazoo gets gunned down as a result. The coverage for the smokes inside of Piano, that was weird. They didn't really cover the Yellow Stairs, which they knew a defender was at. I mean, there were layers of weirdness there. And once again, I do think that the whole game started to descend as we got closer to the end. But a win is a win, and DarkZero, massive one over G2. That's their 2nd time beating G2 so far at this event in the group stages.
Really, just really amazing stuff out of both of these teams, and I know that it's a bitter pill to swallow for G2, but they do walk away with 1 point, which is enough to give them a bit of breathing room. As far as I'm aware, that now pushes them up to 2nd place in the group, 1 ahead of Damwon Kia, who play later today against Ninjas in Pajamas.
They also walk away with their pride, Parker, because that was a far closer match than the last time they played DZ. I mean, it's not even close. G2, right there, just proved that they are a competitor, and yesterday, I think many would have counted them out.
DZ are the real deal.
Yeah.
We've talked about when are they going to show up on LAN, and many players in North America have taken plenty of cheap shots against DarkZero's trophy cabinet and being absent of any international competition. Well, DZ are doing a magnificent job here in Mexico, and they've still got more matches to play, so we've still got more to see out of them. But before we can get to that, I eagerly await the desk's thought about what they would be as animals, as that's how they originally threw to us. So let's pose that same question back to them as we toss on over to Monty.
No, you already messed it up. It was not what we would be as animals, it's what we would think of each other as animals, right? Because like doing yourself is not, it's not as interesting, right?
Yeah. You know who Skies would be?
Oh boy.
Yes.
I knew you knew it was coming.
Let's hear it.
A meerkat.
Yes, I see it.
Do you see it?
Of course.
You would be a meerkat, my friend.
Okay.
I could agree with that.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know what you would be, but
Really, I think you're a quokka. I have to go with an
Okay.
Australian animal. So,
Nice.
do you know
That's
what a
actually
quokka
really-
is?
I don't. I was gonna say more so a kangaroo.
It's a small wallaby, but it's like really cute.
and
Oh.
it has no natural predators, so it is friendly with all humans.
Yeah, it's not afraid of people at all.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna think about yours for later. I'll get
What
back
about
to you.
animals on the
See,
desk
see,
now?
I'm not responsible for us not all doing it because I can't select myself, right? So you can come
You
back.
have to think of who.
Well, no, you. What do you think he is? I'm putting you on the spot. I don't even know half these animals you guys are
because
talking
what
about.
I wanted to, what initially came to me was walrus, and I feel like that's like, I don't know
Nice.
why.
Oh, yeah? I don't even have a cool mustache.
I know, that's true.
Yeah, my facial hair game is weak.
You used to
I
have
can
very
relate to
long
that.
hair, though.
I did. I did used to have very long hair. Yeah, I can't grow any facial hair. It's
Yeah,
pathetic.
it's a struggle out here.
You guys should know my beard. Damn, it pops off.
We'll look forward.
Nevertheless.
We'll look forward to that by playoffs, right? You can get
Yeah.
one in a few days. All right, very good, very good. Okay, well, enough about that. That was, as you said, Jess, a banger. Very exciting game between DarkZero, and very good for DarkZero as well, because they are separating themselves from the rest of the pack at the bottom of Group C into first place, as we are about to witness on your screen right now. 9 points, 2 wins. That was their overtime win in this last game, and the overtime loss versus NIP, which puts them in a really wonderful position. But you got to say, NIP is going to have a couple more games to play tonight versus Damwon Kia, so the chance for either one of those teams to put additional 6 points on the board, which would vault them into that second place spot. But this one's really going to come down to the wire at this point. However, I think if you're NIP, you're probably super happy that G2 just lost.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a little tough with the silver lining of the point. I do think like if there were 3 points right now and you could just really like just be sure that you could encapsulate all of those points you needed at the end of the day after the Damwon Kia games, then you'd be like, yeah, sweet, I'm good. You know, G2's pretty much out of it. I just don't expect this standing to stay the way it is.
Oh, not at all. I expect NIP to come out swinging against the next 2 matches.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, DarkZero maintained their consistent high-level play that we've seen so far at the 6 major, and G2, they took the loss in overtime, but they still looked a million times better than the previous matchup between these two teams.
It was a banger for an absolute reason. They both went to excellent maps for both of the teams. They went the distance. I'm sure if we managed to sort of go even like infinite overtime, let's say they both just kept going and going till they had a 2-round advantage, I mean, we could have been going all night. So I definitely think that this was a good showing of 2 highly rated teams. I'm just a little bit ashamed for, you know, I feel a bit ashamed for G2 not being consistent. I think DZ has consistency to a T, and G2 does not. So that's where the difference makes.
Yeah, and I do want to return to the point you made in the pre-show, Skies, which is that you said Hyper has to be the one to kind of step up on DZ. 16 kills.
He absolutely did.
Do you think he did? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, the thing is Hyper had a slow start, but he's always going to have a strong finish. I think he was really slow the first couple games so far this group stage, but he came alive against G2. That's for sure.
Yeah, on the G2 side, Hungry also having probably his best individual game of this tournament, but you were a little bit wishy-washy on Virtue, and particularly his operators.
Yeah.
You didn't like the sledge very much, did you?
I think G2, the roles are a little strained for me because I think Virtue plays more of a fragging sledge and they kind of lack that top-down vertical player that they desperately need. And it kind of shows in a couple of their rounds throughout this whole group stage, not just this game specifically. Virtue is not a full-on true support, top-down player. He's playing the sledge role as a fragger, and I think it's hurting them.
Yeah, and the trouble is, and like I hate to break it down on such a micro level, but it felt like when Hungary was on the bark and then Virtue was on the sledge, Hungary was only allowed to soft breach top floor.
Oh, yeah.
And then Virtue was only allowed to soft breach, you know, ground floor. And I was like, what is that? That's the weirdest dynamic I've ever seen. That just shouldn't happen. And why is Virtue waiting 45 seconds to open piano floor? I mean, there's so many questions, and I feel like they're like just minor, very, very convenient fixes away from being a great team.
What are those fixes?
Roles number 1,
Yep.
maybe operator changes, maybe not necessarily roles. Let's just throw some operators around that might work better for the team. And as a result, I'm not sure that sledge is working.
I will say, although it was an 8-7, I think kind of forcing Hungry to play that buck while Virtue's playing kind of more of a fragging sledge could have hurt them. You never know. If Hungry was on a Montaigne for 1 round, or a Capitao for 1 round, or a Ying for 1 round, that could have completely changed the score around. But we won't know that because for whatever reason, they're forcing a sledge and a buck.
Virtue can't open floors, guys.
He was struggling to get some Ks.
You need someone to open floors.
Well, I guess the good news about that is if you're a G2 fan, that as opposed to yesterday where you didn't even know where to start with fixing the team, it has now gone down to maybe some really easy fixes
Super
that
simple.
they can implement for the next day.
Yeah, and something as simple as, oh, I'm struggling to open up floors or know how to play around my vertical holes. Can you now take this role, Hungry, or can you take it, I don't know, Yonka or whatever, and I'll change with you? I mean, imagine just how much difference that could make. I mean, we might not even see a max OT.
The way that G2 is going and the way that Virtue plays, I feel like he would be just much better fit on like the Ashe Yana. Like I know Citizen's kind of like lurking around, you know, performing very well on the Yana, but I just feel like it kind of would fit Virtue more and make him a little bit more comfortable.
He was good at the beginning of EUL. I will say on the sledge, on Consulate specifically, he was really good at standing like Zulu, for example, and he would rotate cut, and he was really good at it. It's just strange to me that a sledge would do that. Why is it the sledge being the one that has to be the rotate cut? Why is it not a Nomad or someone else?
Right.
So maybe just simple operator changes is really the fix, I think, and they're just this close.
Well, they were that close, 1 round lost in OT. So let's take a look at some of those rounds. And we're very fortunate to have Skies, who has intimate knowledge of DarkZero's strat book.
Leak the strats.
No, don't leak the strats.
don't
I can't leak the
forbid
strat book,
you-
but I can talk about a
Sir,
strat.
I forbid you for leaking the strats unless we see them first, and then you can do it.
Oh,
like
we're
you're
about to see
do
one right now.
So let's
Yep.
talk about the Russian
Oh,
round
get it.
4. Take it away.
Okay, so this is the Garage Rush round where DarkZero runs down the Visa staircase. So basically the idea behind this is they know G2 is a very roam-heavy team. It's already a minute 15 left and they don't have full control of top, so they opt to just hit the site. They have 1 or 2 people come down from Garage Yellow, and the rest of them just hit the bag. And again, that completely neglects the roam. G2 was not ready for it. And I'm kind of a little worried about G2's VOD review because I feel like that's something that they should expect, as DZ has been doing this for months. And also they did it recently in the NAL against the Sonics.
I mean, we were just saying that they were going to some of the team's best maps because they were obviously countering them.
That's what we thought.
But I'm wondering, just looking at that replay that you selected there, they had a Banshee there. Do you think that maybe they knew and they just couldn't react in time because DZ was just so incredibly fast into sight?
I think it's definitely possible, but then I would question why nobody is on cameras flicking them.
And why is no one in archives? You know, like just sort of a simple counter. Again, one tiny change, that round changes.
Yep.
Sounds like something you could ask G2, considering the series between these 2 teams is over. Those 2 games have ended, so I'm pretty sure they'd tell you
Yeah.
if they anticipated it or
I'm gonna
not.
hunt Shaz down wherever he might be right now. and be like,
Pretty sure
"Answer
they
me."
tell you. There will not be another matchup, most likely, between these 2 teams. Could happen in playoffs, but even if they get out, not going to be in quarterfinals and yada, yada, yada.
DarkZero's looking like the only one safe for the playoffs.
Yeah, so far, we could still see a few upsets. Depends. Not the fate of these teams is not sealed yet because we played fewer games.
Yeah.
But
Right.
we'll get back to that a little bit later tonight when we have the Damwon Kia versus NIP matchup. So round 10, another round. Hyper was clutching it out, but you noticed a few mistakes as well coming from G2, didn't you, Jess?
I mean, it did start off, and as we bring up the clip, I do want to give a little bit of context to say they knew there was a pulse. They try and go for a plant. With the new sort of explosion radius, you shouldn't go for that plant. You will still get downed. But Hyper's in a 1v3 originally. For some reason, Citizen pushes. He doesn't hold the angle. Hyper has the opportunity to make a melee, as Alibi can do, and stop that plant. And I'm glad that we're replaying it. Thank you to whoever's doing this right now, because the big thing, all they needed was the player up top. Guess who it is? Virtue on the Zofia, who is unfortunately not able to play verticals very well, nor is he very, good at making them. He's not in a position to be able to cover. I don't think they had time at the time, but I thought a rotate down would have been the answer to that had they have had
100%.
time. But yeah, Hyper being allowed to do that, Citizen pushing up thinking, I don't know, he's invincible.
I think going into that, like when it was a 1v3, I think there was about 9 seconds left. I think everyone was just, the comms were cluttered. Everyone was freaking out. They didn't exactly know where the last guy was. So I assume that's the reason Citizen sprinted. He was trying to just get to the bomb for coverage. Unfortunately, Hyper was ready for that, caught him off guard. And then again, Virtue was just not in a position to cover the
You
plant.
see the angle he was holding? It
Yeah.
was like 3 centimeters. You can't do much with that, unfortunately.
I feel like right there, that's kind of where someone on the team has to be screaming at him to get down there. And right there, you want to just play man advantage. You know Hyper has to push. He has to make a play because the bomb is down in the site. Someone's going to go for it.
Yeah.
So I think it was just poor team play, maybe a bad decision by Virtue. Again, the comms could have been cluttered, so we don't really know.
Well, Virtue, maybe he'd be better as an RTS gamer, just like take away the Z-axis, right? That way, just the XY. He can be a master of StarCraft. Anyway, we'll see if that improves for Virtue as the rest of the 6th major goes on. We are going to take a break, and when we get back, we will have Liquid and Empire on the main stream for the first time. Liquid getting very close to wrapping up their group. Empire still gunning for that 2nd place. Will we see that upset? I don't know. Stay tuned. Find out.